After an enigmatic resurgence, I realized that my family had suddenly gained the ability to hear my thoughts. Should I come clean to my mom that her cherished adopted daughter, whom she adores, is actually my dad's illegitimate child? I caught sight of my mom's hand shaking as she held Lily's hand. Or should I stay silent about the fact that my brother was deliberately kept from succeeding by our father? I observed him, lost in his games, his phone heating up in his grip. Would he be crushed if he found out that our dad had someone run him over on purpose? I saw my oldest brother, confined to a wheelchair, smoke billowing from his hair. What if they discovered that all my dad's schemes were to marry his first love? Would our family crumble? I noticed everyone giving my dad a suspicious glance. It all started with a petty fight between me and Lily, but my father ruthlessly shoved me out of the 13th floor window, causing my death. Instead of disappearing, I became a ghost trailing my father, uncovering all his secrets. He had married my mom solely to climb the social ladder, secretly in love with a woman named Grace. She had also birthed the girl now known as my adopted sister, Lily. From the moment my father tied the knot with my mom, he was scheming to seize her family fortune, aiming to live a lavish and happy life with Grace and their biological daughter. But unexpectedly, I was granted a second chance, returning to the day my father brought Lily home. Should I tell my mom then, seeing her hands tremble while holding Lily's? Glancing around nervously, she finally looked my way. I blinked innocently and my mom frowned, thinking she was imagining things. Lily then dashed into my mom's arms, crying and pleading, and my mom, deeply touched, cried with her. But at that moment, she couldn't bring herself to shed a tear. Her gaze remained fixed on me. "Ava, you say something?" "No, nothing," I denied, secretly thinking I couldn't let my mom know about my comeback. My dad, always the peacekeeper, stepped forward. "Lily, don't cry. From now on, this is your home," he declared, then turned to me. "Ava, take Lily to your room." "Okay," I agreed, thinking to myself that soon Lily would fall down the stairs, and it would look like I pushed her. Sure enough, halfway down, she suddenly stumbled. My dad was the first to rush to her, clutching her worriedly. "Lily, you okay? Don't blame Ava. It was just an accident," she murmured in pain, and my dad sternly addressed me. "Ava, from now on, Lily is your older sister. How could you treat her like that? Have we spoiled you too much?" At that moment, my mom also approached. Lily quickly said, "Mom, don't blame Ava. I know she couldn't accept me at first since you only had a daughter before me. I get it." In my previous life, this very approach had made my mom resent me, thinking I lacked empathy. As time went on, Lily's false accusations against me increased, causing my mom to grow more disappointed in me. This led her to exclusively dote on Lily. My heart sank, thinking, it's over, I'm about to be blamed by my parents. No matter how I tried to explain, they wouldn't listen, so staying silent seemed better. I noticed a mix of pity and agony in my mom's eyes just before she slapped Lily hard across the face, leaving her stunned. My dad stood by, unable to react in time. My mom furiously declared that she had seen Lily fall on her own. "How dare you slander Ava so blatantly? No wonder your previous foster family sent you back. Truly, a pitiful creature often has its blameworthy side." Adopting Lily was my dad's decision. He explained that during a charity visit to the orphanage, he found her pitiable, mistreated by her previous family, and couldn't bear to leave her there. He also mentioned that since I was the only daughter at home, bringing her back would give me a companion. My mom reluctantly agreed, swayed by my dad's persistence. On Lily's first day, my dad had prepared everything meticulously. However, it didn't take long for Lily's true nature to surface. Earlier, my dad had even stood in front of my mom, presumably to block her from seeing the truth. Lily, frightened by my mom, had no choice but to seek help from my dad, who quickly explained that her misbehavior was due to past abuse and a lack of safety, which could have caused her misunderstandings. "Look, being so hot-headed can scare the child," he advised my mom. As my mom was about to expose my dad's schemes, she suddenly heard my thoughts, and I knew revealing everything now would lead to denial and potentially more drastic actions from him. After all, my dad held many shares in the company, and I couldn't help but think that my brothers would likely side with him. He always portrayed himself as the loving father and my mom as the strict parent. If a real crisis erupted, my brothers might even support him. My mom, seemingly finding reason in my silent thoughts, tried to suppress her anger and told my dad and Lily, "I don't want this to happen again." Lily obediently nodded, her demeanor still as docile and endearing as ever. "Aunt Rose, take her to her room," my mom ordered directly. Aunt Rose hurriedly led Lily upstairs. My dad intended to explain his motives to my mom, obviously trying to make her quickly accept and cherish Lily. But this time, my mom grabbed my hand and walked past my dad without looking back, leaving him bewildered. Normally, a few soothing words from him would have made my mom cheerful again. Why was she suddenly treating him this way? I turned back to look at him, unable to suppress a cold laugh. Did he not realize that his good days were numbered? My mom brought me to her room, staring at me intently. "Ava, tell me, do you know anything about your dad's affairs?" I feigned innocence, shaking my head quickly. "I don't know," I thought. I couldn't tell her. If I did, she'd be disappointed. In my previous life, when I discovered my dad's infidelity and told my mom, she scolded me for being too young to understand such matters and accused me of lacking compassion, saying that my dad was just spoiling Lily a little and I was making a fuss. Afraid that my mom would no longer love me, I saw her eyes suddenly fill with tears, her face a mix of pain and guilt. "Ava, you are my daughter, and I love you the most in this world. And you love me the most too," she said, deeply moved. I hugged her tightly, relieved that she no longer pressed me to speak. Yet, thereafter, I clearly saw her distancing herself from my dad and Lily. Whenever Lily tried to show goodwill towards my mom, she pretended not to see. Even though my mom rarely visited the company, she began to do so more frequently. I could tell that both my dad and Lily were growing anxious. After dinner, they secretly spoke in a corner. "Dad, you said she was easy to win over, but no matter what I do, she remains cold towards me," Lily complained. "Why is that?" My dad sighed, expressing his confusion about my mom's sudden change in behavior. "Perhaps she's going through menopause, making her irritable. Let's just ignore her for now. Tomorrow, your older brother is coming home for winter break. He's quite naive. Try to get on his good side first." "Yeah, Dad," Lily agreed. I needed to quickly take Ava's place in this house. Once I became the darling of the family, it would be easy for us to take over their wealth. Then we could bring our mom here to enjoy the fortune. My dad reassured her. "Don't worry, Ava is naive. She can't match you. You'll quickly win everyone's affection." Lily confidently said, "In my previous life, that was indeed the case. Not only did I not guard against Lily, but I was also brainwashed by my dad to treat her as my real sister. However, she schemed against me everywhere, framing me, making the family think I was selfish, eventually leading them to dote only on her. But this time, she won't have such good luck." The next day, my older brother, Ethan, came home for winter break. He was a hefty guy, weighing about 220 pounds, never exercising, only liking to snack. He wasn't academically inclined either, spending his days playing video games. His admission to university was solely due to our family's influence. To outsiders, Ethan was useless. My mom never imagined he would turn out this way, though in the past, she had indeed invested a lot of effort in educating Ethan, while my dad mostly took care of him. My dad had always told him that since we had an oldest brother to shoulder the responsibilities, he could afford to live carefree as a rich heir. Gradually, Ethan lost all motivation, spending his days in idle pursuits. Lily was the first to greet him. She approached and whispered in his ear, "I heard from Dad that you like French fries, fried chicken, spicy food, and instant noodles. I've bought some and put them in your room along with your favorite cola. Don't tell Mom, okay?" I saw the delight in Ethan's eyes. Our mom never allowed such things in the house and even inspected any luggage he brought home to prevent him from eating these snacks. Previously, it had always been my dad who secretly bought them for him. But now it was Lily. I realized clearly that Ethan was instantly fond of Lily, up until he heard my thoughts. Watching them get close, I pursed my lips, thinking to myself, with his weight and all those snacks, is he planning to eat himself to death? I saw Ethan's face stiffen. He turned his head, his eyes locking onto me with a stern look, as if even a 3-year-old knew too many snacks were bad. Why would Dad and Lily give him these things? He wondered angrily. What did you say? He asked me, furious. I feigned innocence. I didn't say anything. He seemed surprised because he hadn't actually seen me open my mouth. But then he heard my voice again. Don't tell him he's being raised by Dad to be useless. His look of astonishment deepened. In my mind, I continued, but really, he could end up with esophageal cancer from all these snacks and die skinny, just skin and bones. Ethan's eyes widened in disbelief. I turned away, thinking to myself, let him get close to Dad and Lily. After all, since she arrived, he doesn't care about me anymore. Ava! Ethan called me back. I turned around. What is it? He hesitated, perhaps for a moment wondering if he was hallucinating, then said, before Lily came into this house, I was the darling of everyone. Even this rebellious brother was no exception. I approached Ethan slowly. He handed me a model. Like it? He asked. I nodded, though not enthusiastically, muttering under my breath that soon he would only be nice to Lily. Even this model would eventually end up with her. It's a gift for you, Ethan began, but Lily suddenly interrupted. Wow, it's so beautiful. I've never seen a model this intricate. It looks so real. Ethan seemed displeased by her interruption. Ava is so lucky. You treat her so well. If I had such a beautiful model to hold while I sleep, I'd be the happiest girl in the world, Lily said with an air of innocent admiration. In my previous life, it was this naive and pitiful act that made Ethan so generous, prompting him to give the model to her, promising to buy me another one later, a promise he never fulfilled as Lily eventually monopolized all his affection. This time, I didn't wait for him to speak. I handed the model directly to Lily. If you like it, take it, I thought, knowing if I didn't, Ethan would eventually persuade me to give it to her anyway. I didn't want to make him feel uncomfortable. Lily's face lit up with joy. Really? Thank you, Ava, she exclaimed. Just then, I resigned myself to fate, thinking she would deliberately drop the model and then blame me. Just like before, as I handed it to her and let go, the model fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. At the same time, Lily's cries echoed through the room. Such a beautiful model, broken. I've dreamed of having one like this all my life, she sobbed, turning to me accusingly. Ava, even if you didn't want to give it to me, you didn't have to break it. She then quickly turned to Ethan. Don't blame Ava, it must have been an accident. Why would you blame her? Ethan, confused, looked at Lily with a mix of disdain. Lily, a bit embarrassed and not understanding, thought Ethan would blame me, accusing me of being petty. But instead he asked her, why should I blame Ava? It's your fault if you didn't catch it. Why blame her? Lily tried to explain in a low voice, hurriedly saying, it's okay. I won't make a big deal out of it, as if she had any right to be magnanimous after making a mistake and trying to cause division. What are your intentions? Ethan raised his voice. Lily's face turned red with embarrassment. Who let you into our house? Go back to where you came from. You're not welcome here, Ethan said, about to drag her away. Lily was so frightened that she started crying loudly. My dad, who had intentionally stayed out of the living room to give Lily a chance to win Ethan over, came rushing in when he heard the commotion. What's going on, Ethan? Why are you treating your sister like this? He demanded sternly. Ethan shouted back at my dad, she's not my sister. Ava is my sister. She's just someone you brought home, right? Then send her away. What nonsense are you talking about? If Lily is part of our house, she's family. You're old enough to know better, my dad reprimanded. Ethan was furious to the point of nearly choking. He was about to argue loudly with my dad, but then heard my thoughts, thinking if I were him, I wouldn't argue. It's useless. Dad brought Lily home to take over our family's wealth. He should focus on bettering himself and finally confront Dad with a surprise attack. Ethan paused, swallowing the words he intended to say, then dropped a line that marked his stand. Anyway, Ava is my only sister, he declared, pulling me away and leaving my dad and Lily staring at each other in bewilderment, unsure of what had just unfolded. Why had our family suddenly become so insightful? Why couldn't they deceive us anymore? Back in his room, Ethan angrily threw away all the snacks that Lily had prepared into the trash, as if he had suddenly thought of something. He uninstalled all the games on his phone. After clearing everything, he turned to me seriously and asked, Ava, did I ever let you down before? I quickly shook my head, reassuring him, No, you're the best. It's just Dad's bad influence. I know you're really smart and will surely become someone outstanding. Ethan smiled, seemingly touched. Ava, from now on, I will strive to be outstanding, so no one can bully you. Okay, I nodded vigorously. The first thing Ethan did after settling back at home was to get a comprehensive health check at the hospital. He then hired a personal fitness trainer and devised a weight loss plan. Besides losing weight, he also started studying again, hiring tutors to teach him right from the basics, dedicating the entire winter break to learning and getting fit, which left my dad and Lily dumbfounded. They did nothing, but since Lily arrived, both my mom and Ethan had changed. My mom, who normally did not go to the company, leaving everything to my dad, found him nearly succeeding in buying off all the employees to become the real power holder in the company. However, when she started showing up, the shareholders and senior employees, who were still undecided, no longer respected my dad. My dad was so angry he wanted to spit blood. I overheard him bitterly talking to Lily. What kind of job are you doing here? Weren't you supposed to win over this family? Why is everything turning out so wrong, moving further from my plan every day? How will I bring your mother here to enjoy our fortune now? His voice was full of reproach. Lily sobbed, feeling wrong. I don't know anymore, Dad. I did everything you taught me, but they don't believe me. My dad didn't know what had gone wrong. He was visibly frustrated, breaking a vase in anger. Your oldest brother is coming home for the Lunar New Year soon. He trusts and appreciates me the most. No one else matters. Only he will be the true heir of our family. This time, I will make sure to impress him. I will make him like me, Lily assured, feeling slightly resentful that she was always better than me at flattering and self-promotion. Why didn't the family like her? In my previous life, after I had been alienated by my dad, she had mocked me, claiming she could make me lose everything with just a flick of her finger. Shortly after my accidental death, my mom and brothers were indeed saddened, but soon they were blinded by Lily's sweet words. And it wasn't long before they were all destroyed by my dad and Lily. Thinking of what happened in my past life, I clenched my teeth, vowing that this time, it would be my dad and Lily who would face their karma. A week before the new year, my oldest brother returned from abroad, where he had been recovering from a severe car accident 6 months earlier. The brakes of his car had suddenly failed on a rainy day, causing a serious crash. That day, my mom and I were abroad on vacation, and Ethan was at home playing games. My dad was the first to reach him. Due to heavy rain and landslides, the ambulance couldn't reach the scene immediately, so my dad had to carry Ethan several kilometers to the ambulance. The entire ordeal of Ethan's rescue was captured on video by passers-by, leading everyone to praise my dad's heroic act. Our family grew more attached to him because of this apparent display of devotion. However, the truth was that the car accident had been orchestrated by my dad himself because my oldest brother was the main heir to our family's fortune. My dad hoped that if Ethan died, or at the very least was incapacitated early, my other brother, who he deemed incompetent, would be next in line. That would leave only me, who in my dad's eyes was easy to manipulate. All he needed to do was install Lily in my place, and eventually, the family assets would naturally fall into his and her lap. Surprisingly, my brother did not die at the accident scene. Although my dad initially had no intention of saving him, the presence of onlookers snapping photos left him with no choice but to stage a dramatic rescue. Ethan was rushed to the hospital and fortunately survived, though he was left with a permanent disability. My dad suggested he go abroad for better medical treatment, claiming the advanced medical technology overseas could help him recover. He even helped Ethan make arrangements with the best private hospitals. But as expected, there was no progress in Ethan's condition after 6 months. Finally, he returned home. I've really missed you, Lily ran up to him, her voice fluttering like a butterfly. She had always heard from our dad about how mature and handsome he was, and indeed, he was younger and more handsome than she had imagined. Ethan, self-conscious about his disability and somewhat reclusive, had spent a time when my mom and I frequently flew abroad to visit him, but he always sent us away, not wanting to meet anyone except our dad. Eventually, we stopped visiting. Now, Lily's proactive approach clearly made him uncomfortable, but he couldn't refuse her enthusiasm. She was visibly excited to meet him, offering to massage his shoulders after his long flight. You must be tired from the flight, Let me help you relax, she said enthusiastically as she massaged him, continually asking if he felt better. I even took a course in massage therapy, Lily chirped. My teacher taught me how to massage the legs to improve blood circulation. When you're back for good, I'll do it every day. Ethan seemed embarrassed, but ultimately accepted her gestures. This time, I felt nothing. Let Lily enjoy her moment of triumph. There's an old saying, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. Without giving them a taste of sweetness, how can they be driven mad with frustration later? Lily quickly won over Ethan. Despite my initial doubts about myself, once accepted by him, she blossomed like a peacock spreading its feathers, becoming more lively around the house. My dad was delighted. After all, he had spent years nurturing this daughter. How could it be without any effect? How could she not surpass me? They began to plan their final move. Lily's 15th birthday, scheduled just 2 days before the new year, was to be a grand affair at home, where my dad intended to introduce her formally to all our relatives and friends. My mom disagreed. She had no fondness for Lily, even feeling deeply resentful. However, no one could truly accept raising their spouse's child from another relationship without some bitterness. To avoid ruining the event, my mom reluctantly agreed to stay out of it, handing all the preparations over to my dad. Out of sight, out of mind, she figured. Thus, my dad eagerly invited numerous guests, making the large mansion extraordinarily lively on Lily's birthday. She wore a beautiful pink dress and walked proudly beside my dad, who enthusiastically introduced her to everyone. Overwhelmed, my mom excused herself with a pretext and returned to her room. My second brother didn't come downstairs at all, busy as he was with his studies. Only my oldest brother, who had become disabled after the accident, made a rare appearance in the grand hall for Lily. She flitted around with my dad before appearing in front of me while I was alone at the dessert table indulging in some cake. With narrowed eyes and a sly smile, she said, "Ava, this necklace was a gift from our oldest brother. It's very expensive and I love it. Do you think it's pretty?" Lily twirled in front of me, flaunting the necklace. In my previous life, she used the same tactic to provoke my jealousy and then played the victim, causing a scene that led the entire family and all the guests to criticize me for being unreasonable. This time, I simply didn't engage with her antics and casually remarked, "It's really quite lovely, suits you well." Why would I be jealous? Didn't you know? Our brother used to buy me lots of beautiful dresses. Today is your birthday, so it's natural he bought you a gift. Why should I be envious? She seemed to think I would react negatively. I heard you were close with our brother. These past few days, he's been spending more time with me so I could feel welcomed by the family. I was afraid you might be upset. I'm glad that isn't the case, I replied. I don't rely on our brother as much as you do. Just then, our oldest brother, maneuvering his wheelchair, approached. I wasn't sure what Lily had been telling him these past few days, but it was clear he felt compelled to protect her. Seeing us together, he seemed concerned I might be harassing her. Of course, Lily took the opportunity to feed into his protective instincts, implying to him that my affection for him wasn't as deep as hers. Dad says since she's new to the family, we should look after her more, she said. Do I have to be like her, always demanding more attention? Pretending to be puzzled, I asked her, "Are you accusing me of being jealous of you?" She seemed momentarily flustered by my response, but quickly regained her composure and started to fabricate accusations against me. Are you blaming me for stealing his attention? You just said you didn't mind. She then burst into tears, the kind that seemed far too eager to flow, making anyone unaware of the situation think I had wronged her. Seeing Lily cry so violently made Ethan's tone grow stern. What's going on? He asked. Nothing, it's nothing, she sobbed pitifully. I'll be more considerate. Ava, please don't be upset. I'm here to integrate with the family, not to disrupt it. Despite hearing this twice, I couldn't help but laugh at her shamelessness. My oldest brother, seeing the mocking smile on my lips, grew even darker in mood. He didn't bother to inquire further and immediately took her side. Lily is new here. She's not familiar with everything. Why can't you, her sister, take better care of her? He chided me. Are you really saying I should take care of her? I asked seriously. All your life, you've been pampered by the family and never had to make concessions. Maybe it's time you learn to get along with your peers, he said as he began to wheel Lily away in a different direction, leaving me alone in the party room. Although I had experienced this once before, it still felt uncomfortable. I held back my emotions. After all, the real drama was yet to come. I watched as he wheeled her away, and just 2 steps later, the beautiful pink dress she wore suddenly ripped with a loud tearing sound. The long train of her dress, which was prone to accidents, had torn, but it wasn't I who had stepped on it. Lily, seizing the moment when Ethan wasn't looking, had intentionally torn her own dress. When my oldest brother turned around, Lily quickly retracted her foot and then clutched the torn part of her dress, making herself appear utterly dejected. Unable to hold back, she loudly accused me. "Ava, how could you treat me this way?" Up until then, only Ethan had been paying attention to our minor argument, but possibly my dad had been observing too. That night, my dad had meticulously prepared for the event, and now, due to Lily's outcry, everyone in the party room was drawn to the scene. Lily looked even more pitiful and extremely embarrassed. My oldest brother quickly took off his jacket and gave it to Lily, who wrapped it tightly around herself, looking like a wounded bird evoking sympathy. "What's going on here?" My dad approached as well. Lily, trembling in front of everyone, didn't dare to speak. "What has happened?" my dad inquired. Ethan, sparing me no dignity, immediately blamed me outright. "Ava stepped on Lily's dress. How could you act like this on her birthday? She hasn't had a proper birthday party in 15 years, and now you ruined this one too." Murmurs began circulating in the hall. Ava is truly spoiled rotten. How could she embarrass Lily in front of so many people? Now that Lily is part of this family, shouldn't Ava be more accommodating? I heard someone pitying Lily, questioning my lack of empathy. The crowd began criticizing me, and I saw the smug satisfaction in the eyes of both my dad and Lily. They believed their plan was nearly successful. I wasn't rushed or anxious. I started to communicate my thoughts directly to Ethan, knowing verbal explanations would be futile now. Even he, the sibling I cherished most, believed I had deliberately stepped on Lily's dress. Ethan paused, clearly confused. He didn't hear me speaking aloud, but he could hear my voice in his head. I continued, "Being wronged isn't really an issue for me, but I truly don't want to see you deceived by our dad. What if you knew that he was responsible for arranging the car accident that led to your injuries? Wouldn't that hurt you deeply? You love him so much, but I can't bear to see you heartbroken." Ethan's face turned pale as he gripped the handles of his wheelchair, his body shaking with anger. Lily, standing very close, immediately sensed his emotional shift. Her lips almost curled into a smirk, thinking Ethan was defending her against a supposed injustice directed at her by me. Seizing what she thought was the perfect moment, she spoke up, "Ava, if you really dislike me that much, then I will leave this house. I have been here for a month and have felt complete happiness with our parents, you, and our brother. I am satisfied and desire nothing more. If my presence makes you unhappy, then even if I love this house, I wouldn't be happy here." Her words, seemingly heartfelt, moved everyone. Relatives began to admonish me. "Ava, why can't you be more understanding? Lily is considering your feelings. Why not try to live in harmony?" They urged me to apologize to Lily, to stop being stubborn, praising her kindness and telling me how lucky I was to have such a sister. Feeling a wave of support, Lily grew even more confident. "Please don't be hard on Ava anymore. I don't want her to be upset. I feel at home here." She paused, her voice tinged with sadness, before continuing after a long pause. Her manipulative words and actions skillfully painted her as a selfless victim, deeply endearing her to the family and guests alike, turning the situation against me while she cloaked her true intentions under the guise of peacemaking. The person speaking was a relative of my mom's, but he had long been bribed by my dad, who had once successfully used this approach to share the burden with my mom. My dad had become a high-ranking executive at the company, but lacked the necessary skills, leading to criticism from others. Of course, all of this was a show put on by him, enduring disgrace to convince my mom to transfer 20% of the company shares to him. Now he wanted to use the same tactic again. Lily hastily refused, her expression a mix of haste and grievance. In a previous life, these shares were given to her by my mom, who loved Lily and had given her 10% of the shares when she only held 30%. After giving the shares to Lily, only 20% remained with Ethan holding another 20%, and my dad holding the rest alongside other shareholders. My dad had used his 20% and Lily's 10% to secretly buy back some shares from other shareholders. He had also manipulated Ethan into contributing another 10%, thus becoming the largest shareholder of the company. This time, with my mom not present, my dad looked at Ethan and spoke up. Ethan, I have never asked you for anything. You know that the shares I hold are to help you and your mother manage the company better. Currently, you are recuperating and don't need to work. Temporarily give the 10% to Lily, and I will find a way to compensate you later. My dad spoke boldly, not expecting Ethan to refuse. He thought that by defending Lily and embarrassing me earlier, Ethan would teach me a lesson by giving the shares to her. However, he did not realize that my mom and my second brother had come downstairs, possibly alerted by the staff who were concerned I might be bullied, so they hurried down. At this moment, everyone could hear my inner thoughts. If Ethan gave his shares to Lily, it would be another step for my dad in seizing the family's assets. Ethan's disability was not incurable, but my dad had intentionally neglected proper treatment. The doctors abroad were also part of his elaborate arrangement. Everyone's perception of my dad changed once they heard the truth. Ethan was so furious that he seemed ready to burst. Lily, still feigning reluctance in front of Ethan, playfully tried to pull on his arm, insisting, "Dad, I don't need the shares. How could I take them from Ethan?" Ethan, overhearing this, pushed her away so forcefully that she fell to the ground, stunning everyone in the room. Even Lily herself forgot to cry out in pain. My dad was the first to react, incredulous. "Ethan, what are you doing? How can you treat Lily this way? What's gotten into you?" Ethan coldly looked at my dad as if he wanted to hurt him. In a previous life, after I died and became a spirit following him, I learned the truth and hated him so much I wished I could bite him. But I couldn't. I had to calm myself down, thinking that without evidence, Ethan wouldn't be believed, which could potentially tarnish our family's reputation, making it seem like we were all ganging up on Lily. My dad and Lily could turn the situation against us. Our house had cameras. Just extracting the footage would reveal whether Lily had falsely accused me. Seeing Ethan trying to restrain himself, my dad continued to berate him, suggesting that his personality had changed after the car accident. The others began to see reason in my dad's words and sided with him. When Ethan ordered Aunt Rose to retrieve the video from the surveillance camera in the hall, Lily started to panic upon hearing about the camera. She looked anxiously towards my dad, who also showed signs of alarm. "Why do you need the surveillance video?" my dad hastily asked, but Ethan did not respond to him. My dad then loudly instructed Aunt Rose, "Don't fetch the camera. I'm the decision maker in the house." My mom, with a strong voice that commanded attention, contradicted him. "Aunt Rose, go get the surveillance video." Realizing that the situation was irredeemable, Lily quickly stood up from the floor. "Why won't you welcome me? If the whole family won't accept me, then I'll leave." Right before proving my innocence, Ethan shouted loudly, "Nobody is leaving until this is resolved." Despite his disability, he commanded the room with an authority that rivaled my mom's. The surveillance footage was played, and it clearly showed Lily deliberately damaging her dress and then falsely accusing me. Public opinion instantly turned against her. At that moment, Lily was fortunate not to drown in the wave of disgust directed at her. My mom, now more lucid, declared, "I don't want to see her anymore. Get her out." "I'm not going," Lily protested upon hearing she might be expelled. She had just moved into this beautiful home and gained the status of a family lady. For the past few years, my dad, fearing exposure, didn't allow Lily and her mom too much. What she has enjoyed in our house lately is far beyond what she experienced with her biological mom. "I will never allow this to happen again. Mom, please give me another chance," Lily sobbed dramatically. If not for everyone seeing her true face, she might have deceived us all again. My mom, unimpressed, said, dismissed her. "Get out. Don't dirty this house anymore." Dad, realizing Lily's uselessness, decisively cut ties with her. "I can't believe you're like this. I was wrong about you. Now I will take you away," he said. He then turned to my mom. "I didn't expect her to be so deceitful. I will take her away. Don't be angry." My mom scoffed. "Now looking at you is like watching a clown dance." Thinking my mom was still angry, my dad didn't think much further and dragged Lily away. Despite his love for his first love and his biological daughter, his love for money was greater. Otherwise, he wouldn't have abandoned his wife and child for wealth. Thus, expelling Lily from the house wouldn't lead to a good outcome for her. My dad was sure to lay all the blame on her. For my family, the most important thing now was to ensure my dad paid for his crimes and ended up with nothing. After taking Lily away, my dad returned and was the first to apologize to all the invited guests. He blamed himself and appeared genuinely innocent, claiming he had been deceived by Lily and was greatly hurt by her actions. The one who is most hurt is Ava, my mom pointed out directly. My dad quickly agreed. Yes, Ava was the most hurt. It's my fault. I apologize, my daughter. I promise not to adopt any other children again. You are my only daughter. I wanted to retch, but I held it in. My mom continued, a few comforting words are not enough. You should compensate for the damage more substantially. So, Ava, tell me what you want. I will fulfill all your wishes. My dad said with what seemed like genuine sincerity. Really, anything? I asked incredulously. Of course. Have I ever broken a promise? He assured me. He thought he could placate me as easily as before with mere sweet nothings. I want you to transfer your shares of ABC Corporation to me, I demanded firmly, watching his expression change visibly. After a moment, he stuttered, You're only 14, shares won't be of any use to you. But I just promised to transfer shares to Lily. Am I less important to you than her? I prodded further, almost casually adding, Is Lily actually your biological daughter then? This accusation visibly shocked him. Nonsense. You are my only daughter. Then why are you willing to transfer shares to Lily and not to me? You don't need shares to help Mom in the company. I challenged him. My mom interjected, Ethan has already agreed to work in the company. Ethan is not a weakling. He can recover and take responsibility for the family. Seeing no way out, my dad was compelled to agree. Can you transfer the shares to me right now? You just said you'd fulfill any request. I pressed, with expectant eyes as many guests looked on. If he refused, he couldn't preserve his dignity. Grinding his teeth, he was still reluctant to drop his facade, contemplating if revealing his true intentions would be worth losing all he had worked for over the years. All right, I will transfer all my shares to you, he finally conceded, though his face showed it was a painful decision. Just transfer 10% to me, like you intended for Lily. I countered, catching him in his own words. Why should Lily be more important than your own daughter? I asked with a pained expression. He fell silent, clearly struggling with the situation. My mom added, When you took my shares, you said it was to safeguard them for the children. Now you're just compensating Ava for her injuries. Are you not happy about that? Cornered by my mom's logic and the silent judgment of relatives and friends, his image as a good man was at stake. If he wanted to maintain it, all his efforts over the years would be wasted, but losing the image might only leave him with his existing shares. My mom gave him time to think, not pushing further, knowing the embarrassment was his to bear. As sweat beaded on his forehead, the surrounding whispers grew. Does anyone truly desire nothing? They murmured. He promised too much, and now he's just saving face. If he truly considered her his daughter, why fuss over a few shares? Finally, unable to disregard his pride in front of the crowd, a flash of ruthlessness crossed his eyes before he presented a generous front. How could I not be pleased? When I held these shares, I did it on behalf of my children. I'm just considering whether to give Liam 10% as well. If Ethan and Ava have shares, Liam should also have some. It's fine, Ava doesn't need any. This move was his attempt to appear fair and magnanimous, but also a way to retain control over the family assets while appeasing public expectations. His statement was a clear calculation to maintain his position and possibly pacify any potential conflicts within the family. When my oldest brother Liam explicitly refused, everyone understood my dad's thinking. He believed that my second brother was the easiest to manipulate, assuming his diligence was just a facade that wouldn't last. If Liam doesn't need it, then I'll give the shares to Ava, my dad finally conceded, as if making a great concession. Thanking him, I too expressed satisfaction. My mom wasted no time. She immediately called the family lawyer to draft the share transfer documents right there and then. Perhaps until his dying day, my dad would never understand that inviting Lily to help him only led to his utter downfall. Surely now he must be regretting everything. For our family, however, this was still not enough. In our previous life, we had been destroyed by his actions. This time, I was determined to make him pay doubly, Afterwards, our family life returned to normal, but it was easy to see that my dad was starting to panic. Without shares and control over the company, he was powerless. My mom and oldest brother resumed their normal work routines. Ethan vigorously pursued his fitness and studies, and I remained the darling of the family, much to my dad's dismay. Unable to bear it any longer, he used the excuse that he needed to deal with some urgent family matters back in our hometown and left. On the night he departed, he secretly rented a vehicle and returned, intending to set our mansion ablaze while we supposedly slept. Around 3 a.m., as the neighbors were unaware, the fire had already engulfed the mansion by the time the fire department was alerted. They spent the whole night putting out the blaze. The next day, my dad received the news and rushed back, falling to the ground and wailing in apparent despair. The onlookers, moved by his distress, came forward to console him. He acted as though he couldn't hear them, his despair seeming limitless. "If only I had died with them," he cried convincingly, no one seeing the smug satisfaction hidden deep within his eyes. "What's the point of living if they are gone?" He cried convincingly, no one seeing the smug satisfaction hidden deep within his eyes. Just then, my oldest brother appeared behind him, startling him. "Dad," he called out. My dad trembled, thinking he was hallucinating. "Husband?" my mom also called out. He looked up, trembling, and turned to see us all standing unharmed behind him. Collapsing in shock, he stammered, "You all became ghosts?" "No, we are very much alive. We were on a seaside trip and just returned. Why isn't anyone home?" I said. The realization hit him hard, and in a fit of rage, he couldn't contain himself. "What happened to our house?" he demanded. I was about to retrieve the security camera footage from my phone when he frantically grabbed it and smashed it on the ground. Everyone watched in disbelief. "It's all right as long as you are safe. Nothing else matters. We are reunited as a family," he said nervously, trying to maintain composure. But my mom cut through his facade. "What are you talking about, dear? What happened?" Panicking to the point of being unable to continue his act, my mom revealed, "You know what you did. I've already handed the evidence over to the police. Prepare for the legal consequences." His denial turned to frenzied disbelief. "What nonsense are you spouting?" As he spiraled into madness, unable to accept the reality of his actions, my mom coolly announced, "Look around. The police are here." Indeed, just as my dad was about to argue further, the police arrived, sealing his fate. The evidence of his attempt to burn down the mansion had been securely handed over by us. His plot was uncovered, his betrayal revealed, and justice was about to be served right in front of the very family he tried to destroy. Just as my dad saw the police, he fled swiftly, but he couldn't outrun them. Within a few strides, the police had apprehended him, pressing him to the ground. As they escorted him into the police vehicle, he shouted at us, "How did you find out? How could you have possibly uncovered my meticulous plans?" He was unable to grasp where he had faltered, unable to accept that after years of silent endurance, he had brought about his own ruin. Ultimately, because his actions had not resulted in any casualties, he was sentenced to only 10 years in prison. During one of my visits to him in prison, when he saw me, he became agitated. "Ava, you still care for your father, don't you? When I get out, we'll go to the park and I'll buy you your favorite food," he pleaded. I cut him off, disgusted. "Why would I come here if I didn't feel some obligation? I came to see you perform your act." My words were cold. A smile, uncharacteristic of a 15-year-old, spread across my face. My dad, filled with horror, stammered, "Who are you? You're not my Ava. Why wouldn't I be?" I retorted, my smile deepening. "Dad, you must be curious to know why, despite all your careful planning, everything came to naught. Isn't it because the universe punishes the wicked? Or why else would I be given a second chance to live?" My dad, thinking I was joking, almost stood up in defiance, but was quickly restrained by the police, crying out in pain and immediately begging for forgiveness. Seeing him in this state was strangely satisfying. "Dad, whether we are blood or not, we are still family, aren't we? Let me give you a parting gift." He looked at me with a flicker of hope. "Lily is not your biological daughter. When she first came to our house, my mom had a DNA test done, which showed no relation. However, the photos of you with your first love, which my mom's private investigator took, show otherwise. How sad it must be to have cared for someone else's child all these years, Remember, when mom wanted to have another child for you, you refused. My dad couldn't believe it, but was visibly breaking down. Wait for me to get out of prison, and then I'll find out the truth myself. It will be quite a spectacle. But his plight was no longer my concern. Whatever revenge he sought against his first love, or how he treated Lily afterward, was his business. At most, it would be another spectacle for me to witness. As I walked out of the prison, I looked up at the clear sky and smiled freely. Next, I will fully enjoy the warmth of the family that I never had in my previous life.